Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder on Weather here. Looking at the radar depiction this morning, we've been tracking this powerful upper level low as it moves across the Great Lakes. Out ahead of it, we do have some showers and thunderstorms. These aren't severe, but they are getting some rain in areas of western PA, down through portions of Kentucky, into central Tennessee, and further south into Mississippi. Back behind it, we do have some colder air, and it's actually snowing up there into Montana and portions of Wyoming. That is a sign of things to come as we have first of two cold fronts that will be diving southbound as we head into the weekend. But our main concern for today is these isolated storms will get its act together as they move across Michigan, areas of Indiana, especially there in Ohio, and into western PA, where they were going to be seeing a renewed severe weather threat as we get into the heat of the afternoon. But let's take you back of the setup for Monday. This is the latest storm reports. As of right now, we did in fact have some hail producers that formed out there into West Texas. Not much that happened in Oklahoma, but we did actually end up with 7 tornado reports as of right now. Some tornadoes in the overnight hours in Kansas and portions of Nebraska. There further north in South Dakota, we had wind and hail reports. And then there was also another pocket of energy that formed into West Virginia as well as into Virginia. But then yesterday, like we thought, yesterday was the highest impact day. Right now, we had 17 tornado reports currently. So over the 2 days, we have 24 tornado reports. And yesterday we saw one in portions of Kansas, there in northern portions of Missouri, but especially there in Iowa, getting into Nebraska. So overall, it was a high impact day. So now our main concern is this squall line, especially as we get into about 2 o'clock this afternoon. We are going to be seeing this line of thunderstorms. It's going to be thin, but it is going to be mighty. And some of this air mass will be starting to rotate. So you're probably going to be under a tornado watch by then. So these supercells could spin up a tornado or two, along with some quarter size hail and definitely some damaging winds in and around the Lansing region, back hit through Toledo, as well as into Fort Wayne, Indiana. And that will continue to move eastbound, especially as we head into 5 o'clock. This is towards peak heating, and this is where I'm really mainly concerned, especially there in Detroit, Toledo, back into Cleveland, those areas into Columbus, especially into central Ohio. This atmosphere will be rotating the most. Definitely have to be on high alert for a spin up tornado or two, is definitely not out of the question. And some larger hail associated with this squall line that will be moving across. And as we head into that 9 o'clock time frame, that squall line will be highlighted over Erie, Pennsylvania, now in through the Pittsburgh region. Notice the bowing feature starting to bow out. I think there's a short window, likely from maybe 2 to 8. We have a more tornadic setup, but then I think it transfers into more of a damaging wind threat out ahead of it. So I do feel as they push further into western PA, they're going to be losing the rotation somewhat, but then transferring into a hail and definitely damaging wind threat as this would continue to move across Pennsylvania into the evening time frame. So by the time we head into, say, 1 o'clock in the morning, the severe threat's definitely going to be done by then in Wisconsin, back into Michigan, through much of Ohio, back through Pittsburgh. But now we're going to be seeing those showers and thunderstorms highlighted over Baltimore, maybe the DC region, but especially in eastern PA, getting into Philadelphia, as well as into New York, into the overnight time frame. But heading into tomorrow, that's when things get bumpy even again, because we have the first initial stage of that cold front. So we're going to have a first blast of cooler air. That's going to clash with this warm air mass down there in Texas and much of Arkansas here. Look at the Cape values, folks. The instability is high, folks. That's over 4,000. That's a lot of convective available potential energy in the atmosphere. And as that cold front runs into this air mass, it's going to overrun the atmosphere. It's going to turn it over. Those supercell thunderstorms likely will be towering, producing some of those big time hail producers. and possibly that tornadic spin up tornadoes within this region into Missouri, back into southern Illinois. So if we break it down from the Storm Prediction Center, they highlight two fronts. We're going to mainly right around the front, guys. So it's going to be this one location further into Missouri, back into southern Illinois, into western portions of Kentucky, maybe southern Indiana. You do have an elevated tornado risk as we head into peak heating. That's the concern, because this definitely looks like a peak heating event. I think supercell thunderstorms explode around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then you're going to have a southern flank further south there into Texas. They're going to have a renewed hail threat, likely not a tornado threat down there, but a hail threat as we head into that 4-5 o'clock time frame. So if we break it down, look what the radar setup looks like. This is about 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to have this squall line start to form. This is where we could likely see possible a spin up tornado or two within the southeastern portions of Missouri, central and southern Illinois, back into Indiana, as well as into western Kentucky's definitely not out of the question. And then further south along this boundary, this is going to be a hail threat. So as the atmosphere overturns, I think all this is basically going to turn over around the I-35 corridor, and this is going to break out within the Dallas-Fort Worth area into the peak heating of the afternoon. And the main risk with these are going to be that larger hail. So yeah, if we zoom in down there towards Texas and say the Dallas-Fort Worth area, look at this, folks. There's not many. This is isolated, but where they do pop and where they tower up in the atmosphere, they are going to be capable of some of that larger hail. And it's always concerning when you look at some of the convective models and the short range models and seeing white showing up on the map. That's definitely an indicative of these larger hailstones could unfold across the Dallas-Fort Worth area into portions of southeastern Oklahoma, and those would likely dive southeast. So I think things get going about 4 o'clock, and this could potentially look like about 8 o'clock through the Paris region, up there down there towards Cleburne into Waco, possibly getting into Killeen. So the main window would probably be about 4 to 9 o'clock. So for today, here's the concern. Let's shift gears back further north into Michigan, Ohio, and to western PA. So that's the main concern. This is the Elicity tracks. This gives you an indication on some of the short range convective guidance where the greatest updrafts are. This is where the atmosphere will be rotating. So this is insinuating could be a possible tornado within this atmosphere or these larger hailstones. But definitely this atmosphere will be rotating there into southern and central portions of Michigan, especially around the Detroit region. Got down there towards Toledo, getting into the Cleveland region, into Columbus. Yes, it's a possibility Ohio will end up with a tornado or two this afternoon. So, and again, this is a peak heating time. So I think things get going around 2 o'clock, like I showed you, through about 8. I think that's the window you got to be concerned for Michigan and Ohio. And then as we get into that 8 o'clock time frame, this goes into western PA, especially there in Pittsburgh. Those could be some larger hail producers, possible spin up tornado or two. But once you get further pushed into the evening time frame, these will be not severe and just rain. But look further south. If we expand the view over those 2 days, look at the Elicity tracks. This is again another area where they highlighted that elevated tornado risk heading into tomorrow afternoon into central and southeastern portions of Missouri, back into central and southern portions of Illinois, as well as into areas of Indiana. And then further south, you'll have that hail threat swath through, areas of Arkansas, through southeastern Oklahoma, and then going into the Red River areas, into North Texas, and possibly on the northern fringes of central Texas, before I think this thing winds down and they lose a lot of the convection, daytime heating, and they turn not severe as we head towards maybe after the 9 o'clock time frame. But there's the first initial cold front, and it's going to be highlighted across this region as we head into Friday morning. And that back behind it, yes, folks, that is snow, and that's actually some cooler air. I mean, this is definitely colder for the third week of April standards for sure. It's going to be snowing up there in Saskatchewan, down into up there in Manitoba. Look at the 540 line. That just gives you an indication of where the freezing line might be. But once that cold front moves through, you're clear, right? So it's been very active. So you're going to have a nice respite and a big changes to come on the backside as the cold front will be coming through. But further south, this is where the instability and the heavier rains are going to be. These will likely not be severe after Thursday. So your Friday's a heavier rain threat, possibly Saturday, and then heading into Sunday. So, and it's all complements of this cold front that doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of stalls down there. But look, as you wake up on Friday morning, this is the first initial cooler shot as you have, widespread freezing conditions in much of Idaho, into Montana, back into Wyoming, much of the Dakotas through Minnesota, the 40s dropping all the way south into Kansas and Oklahoma through Indiana. That's where the first initial cold front is, and that's where it sets the stage for possibly an overrunning setup as we head into Saturday. And if you look at this, the precipitable water index showing these possibilities of these 1.25, 1.5, possibly up to 2 inches per hour potential in the atmosphere. So with this front stalled to the south there into the deep south, it's going to cause an overrunning type setup. And those typically are heavy rainmakers, not severe threat, but heavy rainmakers through much of Texas into Louisiana. And eventually, as we head into Sunday with that cold front, that'll get into areas of the southeast. So if we break down the temperatures for Saturday, there's the push, right? So everybody gets into the action with this cold front besides much of the west into the southwest. So you're good. You're still about, a good 75% of the country will experience this cooler shot of air. And this may be the last one, folks, especially this is talking about going well south. So, I mean, we're heading into the end of April, and, typically this might be the last good sized cold front that affects a good part of the country really until fall, because, summer's coming, and May is typically a warmer month. But you're going to feel it. It's going to be some big changes on the backside of this cooler air mass with the drop of 15 to 20 degrees of, below average, then instead of the above average, temperatures you're going to be seeing, out of the head of the front. But the concern further south is the heavier rain. So as the front stalls, especially on Saturday, it's just going to be a super soaker for a good part of north and central Texas, even portions of South Texas, there into Arkansas, into Louisiana. Notice much of the southeast and doesn't get in the action yet because they're waiting for that arrival of that secondary push of colder air, and it will arrive by the time we head into Sunday afternoon. So now those areas into the southeast and much of the east will be getting into the action. Those cooler anomalies drop into Tennessee, into Kentucky, back into West Virginia, through Ohio now, and now across the Carolinas, through Delaware, those areas into Baltimore, into DC, upstate New York gets in the action. The only area that doesn't really get a glancing, piece of it is actually Florida, right? It kind of ends in the panhandle, but nonetheless, most of the area is always going to be feeling this shot of cooler air. And there it is on Sunday. I think most of the rain is gone in the central U.S., but now it's along that cold front into the southeast. So this is just rain. It's not severe, but heavier rains move through Alabama, through Georgia, into the Carolinas, and up there into Virginia. So if we break it down, by the time we head into Monday morning, there's the cooler shot of air. As you wake up, most areas you're going to be needing a jacket, folks, because you got widespread 30s and 40s showing up on the map for a good part of the country, and it's going to be really clear on the backside. So we definitely have some big changes ahead for a good part of the country, at least 75% of you for the central and eastern 2/3 of the U.S. And we'll have a respite for that severe storms after we get through Thursday. It'll be a nice reprieve, at least for a couple of days, probably maybe 4 to 7 days, with likely no severe storms for at least the first half of next week. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. If you like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button and catch me next update. Fire protect you before in after the storm.